And this story time, I am not being melodramatic in the title, in the least bit. So, there's some background to this story. My bus route was comprised of, I think, 4 stops within my neighborhood, like my neighborhood area. There were 2 stops in my direct neighborhood, mine and then another one, and that one takes up a whole bus route by itself. So every day after school, you'd want to race to the bus because all of the other students from that stop would make it to the bus and just completely fill it up. We had 2 buses for our route because of how big this other stop was. So this other stop literally needed its own bus. It was just the first few weeks of school. This was, I think, a year and a half ago? No. Oh my gosh, it's almost been 2 years. Whoa. Always within the first few weeks, you have issues with, bus routes, coordinations, yada yada yada. It gets resolved within the first month or 2. I might be pushing it a little bit there. So within the first few weeks, there were already issues. They were trying to figure out how to get us to have our own bus and get this other stop to fit correctly with everything, if that makes sense. While they were trying to figure this out, they gave us a backup bus. The buses weren't ready to leave yet, but that bus was already filled up before they were ready to leave. I tried not to get onto the flow-over bus. One day, I wound up being late to the bus. According to how many students there were on the bus, I was a tad bit late. So I go into the overflow bus, and it's this guy driver. I think he was like middle-aged-ish. Whenever the buses leave, he takes us our usual route getting out of the school. And a girl that I have known since elementary school was on the bus with me. And I think we wound up sitting next to each other. I was sitting at the very front, I believed. The both of us were. She was telling me that she was on the bus the other day, and he didn't drop her off at the stop. And I'm like, psh, that was probably just yesterday. He was probably a little bit confused. She's like, I don't know, but be prepared. And I'm like, okay. So he takes the other kids to their stops. All of the kids are in their correct spots. He's driving the bus. I'm just sitting there. I think I was like texting somebody or something, scrolling through Instagram. I don't know what I was doing. Then we hear a bang on the side of the bus. And both me and this girl stare up, and we see that he's hit somebody's trash can and knocked it over. I'm looking at her, and she's like, he doesn't know how to drive. And I was just like completely quiet, and I'm like, are we like being kidnapped or something? Because he didn't drop us off at our stop, got everybody else dropped off, and then he's knocking stuff over. And then he starts driving to the middle school. This is nowhere near our stop. He keeps driving, and I'm like, wait, he drove you back to the middle school the other day? And she's like, yeah, you didn't even drop me off at the stop. I had to walk home. And on his way into the bus lot at the middle school, this is where it gets really disturbing. He drove right into a stop sign. The stop sign at the entrance of the bus loading zone. Me and her both looked at each other with wide eyes like, we're gonna die. I've been messaging my dad this whole time saying that he didn't take us to our stop. So my dad's trying to figure out where I'm at. I'm like, he doesn't know how to drive. He just knocked over a stop sign. My dad is on the radio with the people who communicate with bus drivers. Okay then. They keep trying to contact him, and I think he had the radio on, but he wasn't answering. We get to the middle school, and this is where I realized how drastically my middle school changed. All of the kids were acting like animals. They were up in the seats dancing, bouncing around the bus. They were in the middle of the aisle doing weird parkour stuff. The bus driver isn't doing anything to keep them tamed and under control. Me and this girl had gone to the back of the bus already because she warned me that the kids were crazy, and considering she was already right about the bus driver not knowing what he was doing, I dashed to the back of the bus with her. I'm messaging my dad this whole time. The kids are looking over my shoulder at my phone like, hello, personal privacy. My phone is very old. The battery runs out fast. And I'm already at 40%. I will be at 20% in another 10 minutes. But I had a portable charger with me, so I wasn't too freaked out. I'm messaging with my dad. I think I wound up on the phone with him at one point. He drops all of these kids off at their stop. The middle schoolers off at their stops. We're like, so are you taking us home or... And he's like, oh, so where do you want to get dropped off at? I'm like, our bus stop? my friend's looking at him and like, you do know where our bus stop is, right? And he's looking through his papers and he's like, I don't know. I have been on this bus for an hour and a half at this point, probably almost 2 hours actually. I'm like, well, I have the address here of our bus stop, so if you could take us here. The fact that he was wanting to take us back to the school was just ridiculous, because he just picked us up from the school an hour ago. Why are you... So I'm showing him the address on my phone, and he's trying to drive there. After the kids got dropped off, he was driving around the whole area surrounding my bus stop for probably 30 minutes, and then he finally comes down the hill that leads us to our bus stop. He's going super fast, so I'm scared he's going to miss the stop. And he gets down to the landing of the hill, and there's an intersection. He keeps asking, okay, so where do I stop? Where do I stop? My dad and mom are very worried at this point, of course. Both of my parents are at that bus stop, and they're waiting for me. They see the bus come down. The whole time that I've been trying to talk to this driver, he couldn't hear me. Like, I had to talk super loud for him to hear me, and even then, he could just barely hear me. He's asking me, okay, so do I turn or stop? And I'm like, stop right here. And I'm screaming at him to stop because he keeps pushing that bus forward. He's getting ready to turn. He puts on his turn signal while I'm saying stop right here. And he's like, okay, so turn. And I'm like, no, stop here. All of a sudden, when my dad starts talking to the bus driver has perfect hearing. My dad's talking quieter than I was through the door. And I'm beginning to wonder if he's been faking it this whole time. My dad... Whenever the bus driver opens the door to talk with him, I jump off that bus. I get off the second that I can, and I'm like, I'm done with you. In there, and my dad, like, is yelling at the bus driver, telling him, you're gonna get your ID taken away, you're gonna lose your job, and his face just goes pale, and I'm like, serves him right. I'm not sure if that driver, like, was on drugs or something, and I was about ready to pee my pants on the bus, too. I had to go pee so bad. So yeah, you guys, that's my story time today. I hope you guys enjoyed, and leave a like if you did. Bye!